a little bit that way because I can't move
Hi
my chair.
everyone, this is Susan Serra, and welcome to the this next edition of the Modern Kitchen on Google Plus. And I'm happy you're here. I have some great guests with me this week, some real stars in the American design community, and we're going to talk about Dwell on Design. We're going to talk about kitchens, of course, and what our guests found and what was exciting. And let me go ahead and introduce them real quick. And first we have Lori Gilder, and we have Rebecca Reynolds. And Rebecca Reynolds has a design firm called New Canaan Kitchens, and she's a kitchen designer from Connecticut. Lori Gilder has a firm called Interior Makeovers, and Lori does all interior design as well as kitchens, and Lori is located in Southern California, so we have two different coasts there, and together this dynamic duo own and operate the Kitchen Design Network. So we'll talk more about that in a little while. And we also have with us Brandon Smith, and Brandon is the founder and the author of, let's say the founder of The 26, which is a magazine that is focused on the luxury market and luxury in all of its forms. So it's a wonderful publication to seek it out online. And welcome everybody, happy you're here.
Hi. Thanks for having us. Thank you for having us.
Sure, great to have you here. So I want to, really talk about Dwell on Design. I have not been to Dwell on Design before. I've wanted to go. I've gone to, I think, every other show there is, and I just never made it out to California. And all of you, you've been there several times. Is that right? Rebecca and Lori?
Yes. In fact, we met there. That's where Lori and I met.
I remember that. Now I remember.
Dwell has sort of a, a little nostalgic, thing going on for us now, since that's where we met in the cooking design competition with Brandon. Right. For Capital Ranges. So it was fun. It was now 3 years ago, actually.
What, is it that long? Oh my goodness, time just flies. And Brandon, I'm sure you go every year.
I've been going every year since it started. It was nice to see a revitalization of the design show, and I just like that we have a show here on the West Coast that I don't have to get on a plane to go to.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, well, that and now you have West Edge as well. So you're doing pretty well. Let's start with Rebecca and Lori. Either of you, can you give me and give our audience an overview of this year's Dwell on Design? What was the vibe? What was your feeling about what you saw? How did you, what did you absorb? What kind of energy did you absorb?
Well, Susan, the show was really crowded, which was really nice to see. I think we all know that the past few years have been, a little bit quiet, and the trade shows have really reflected that. I think there was a lot of energy at the show. There was a lot of really was nice to hear. I mean, when you go to these shows, it's not always just about the product and the trends, but seeing, as you know, a lot of your design people that from all over the, all over the world, really, but all over the country, and really getting a good take on what's happening in design business, which I think is really helpful always to just touch base with people and get a feeler for what's happening around the country. And just in terms of how are things going, because everyone loves to tell you they're so busy, but I really felt like people were saying that they're really hard back to work and excited about that. So that I thought was more outstanding than anything. This is always good when designers are busy.
That's great to hear. How about you, Lori? Any general impressions? Any kind of an overview?
You know what, there were some really great launches, and I think, there were a couple of favorites that I took away. I know that we have our similar finds and some others, but there were, Miele had, and it's a product I'm really fond of, and I know we all are, they had launched their truffle series, but their pure series too, their pure design, where it's an integrated glass front system, very sleek and sophisticated, the interior with their
Did we lose them?
What's that?
Yeah. Okay, we lost you for a minute. But
okay.
Yeah. So you were talking about Mila's Pure glass system.
Mila's Pure line, yeah, and it's really very beautiful. It's an integrated glass front. It's very sleek and sophisticated. It has a very centralized, sleek drawer handle. Beautifully designed, and it has their M-Touch series, which is very much like an app on your phone, where everything has a scroll touch panel. So it's the swipe, right, and the roll and the down drop menu. So
more intuitive to what we're seeing on all the different devices that we have. So Mila's incorporated that, which I think is really nice. So in a sense, they've taken this high tech and made it a little bit low tech, that it's just easier to use, especially for older people. You know, you're looking at all these things on these digital displays, and it can be very confusing. So I think they've really simplified that, which even for me, I think is nice. But I just did a kitchen for some people that were, they're almost 70, and they did all Mila, and they were worried about that, like whether they were going to be able to run this stuff. So it's kind of exciting that they are really, listening to consumers saying, yes, we want high tech, but we need ease of use also. We can't take 4 months to figure out how to use our new oven.
I hear what you're saying. In fact, I think we've all seen more of that in the past, probably 2 years or so, a return to, simplicity and away, maybe a little bit away, not entirely, from all those icons that you don't even know what they are. Those symbols and, back to dials and knobs and things like that. So now, what would you say were overarching, were you able to define any overarching trends at Lori? What do you think?
You know what, I think, it was really an indoor-outdoor show. It really was sort of an experiential situation too. There were a couple lines from GE Monogram with their French door ovens to Mila's integrated flush mount cooktops, in terms of really simplifying the design style and the cooking technique, actually, where it was technologically driven, but really, really creating new products that were like we were just addressing. There were a lot of outdoor green wall systems, which was really beautiful, which you love too.
Yeah.
A lot of natural elements, and integrating interiors and exteriors, truly, with this in this.
So that's definitely continuing. I think I agree that's an important component of what people want now. How about you, Brandon? Any specific trends that you spotted, or any overarching?
I think I saw like two general trends, and you know me, I'm always looking at it from a luxury aspect. So, if it's shiny, woo! But I think there were two definite trends that I saw, and one is that there is more of, as Lori and Rebecca kind of touched on, there's more of an integration of technology into luxury forms. So I think we're starting to see things like sensor technology and water, the water efficiency, like Toto's droplets, are really starting to show up more and more across the board versus just being, singular companies doing one product. So, like Brizo's pretty much integrated their smart touch technology across most of their lines, which, is fabulous. So, but yet, there's no major changes to the products themselves. So I'm a big fan of that, because I think, as you guys have touched on, people don't really like change too much. So if we can add in that technology without major change, that's a big deal. And then I think the other trend I really noticed is that there is this this big attention to detail and finish now. I think it was less about big wow products and more about things like, really finely thought out details, joinery, how things are put together, and then also, quality of finish. Like the 24 karat gold polished nickel combination from Samuel Heath, that was just stunning.
That sounds beautiful.
Was Dornbrock introduced a Cyprum finish, which is actually this, like, we'd have a picture. Look, can we show it? Can you see it?
Yes.
It's like this really pretty rose gold brass or rose gold copper. So finish and detail was uber important this time around.
Yeah, that really stood out with us too. I mean, we're definitely using more brasses in the kitchen, but these two faucets were, or two new finishes were beautiful. The Dornbrock was much more coppery, but it was very soft and rosy. It was really stunning. And then the Samuel Heath was 24 karat gold and polished nickel, so it was almost, I called it polished nickel on steroids, because you know how polished nickel has that little bit of a pinky cast? Well, it was really a pinky cast, and it was beautiful. And I have to say that I preferred the Samuel Heath because it was subtle and beautiful. I'm not a big lover of copper unless it's old and patinaed and beautiful. So while I thought the Dornbrock was beautiful, it's probably not a finish that my clients would identify with necessarily, but I could see them liking the Samuel Heath one because it really was just a bumped up polished nickel. It was beautiful.
It was elegant.
Yeah, it was like buttermilk. It was like a creamy brass. It was it was just a hint of yellow, which was really pretty. Personally, my favorite was the copper from Dornbrock because it's so, having been to KBIS and seeing a number of people, present copper in various forms, like it just like brass, it's such a hard finish to get correct.
You're right.
It's such a subjective finish. Everybody has their feelings, like they either love it or hate it. So it was one of those, like Dornbrock, like totally nailed that copper right on the head. And if that patinaed too, I'd be kind of curious to see how the green would fit in. But it was gorgeous. It was absolutely gorgeous.
But now that brings up a question I have, which is, it's always so tricky to think, well, what is a trend? And if you buy something like that, and will it be seen as a trend? I think there are ways to design around popular colors like that. However, nonetheless, it's still a trend, don't you think?
I think so, but the other thing too is like if you're sticking with with brands that have been around a while, if you do, if you're spending that much money on a product, the possibility of you changing out again later on could be, I think it could be big. You're like, hey, I'm tired of this color. I can afford another faucet. So, if you're sticking with companies that have been around the block a while and are still around, and, Dornbrock being one of them, Samuel Heath has been around for a long time, you know that you can change out a possible trend. But then I always like to say, too, on the luxury side, buy what you love. If you truly love it, buy it. You're the one who has to live with it, not the magazines, not your neighbors, not your designer. It really, I'm sorry, guys. It does come down to you have to live with it. So if you love it, then that's what
I agree with you, Brandon, because and it is a little bit of a cliche, but for me, I think something has to really speak to you. You have to pay attention to what your gut feeling is telling you. You have to be aware of the products that are out there and not just follow blindly what's happening, but express yourself and kind of really get in touch with who you are. I know you advocate that, Lori and Rebecca.
Yeah, Susan, I think that one of the things, for me as a designer, and I would say Lori's probably very similar in that, mixing the looks and mixing metals and mixing classic designs. Like, I think if I saw the Dornbrock, if I saw it in a really, really modern bathroom, that everything was really modern, I probably would tire of it. If I saw that faucet in a beautiful luxury powder room in a home that was done with, beautiful, very maybe old world Osborne Little wallpaper that might have had a hint of, orange or some color that looked really beautiful with this finish, but everything was really classic. I think it really works with more longevity than if someone did their whole entire bathroom in a look that they just probably would tire of in 5 years. So changing out a faucet, as Brandon said, is not a big deal for a luxury client because they're not going to change out the whole bathroom. Right. So I would love to see that faucet integrated into a very classic, clean, probably traditional bathroom as a sort of a punch of fun, because it almost was really sculptural and beautiful. So I agree with both of you.
And
Definitely.
I think that when you implement something like that, that one element into that kind of environment, it really creates that wow factor, and it gives you just that little glamorous sparkle that you need that I don't think you will tire up, as you said.
Without going over the top.
Without going crazy with it. Yeah, and there's so many things and elements and materials to pair it with, which would be strikingly beautiful.
Right.
So, yeah.
Now, how about cabinetry and kitchen firms? Did you see cabinetry, Lori?
You know what we saw that? Yeah, there was the IKEA. What was it called? The plywood product.
Well, there was two companies.
Something like not
Semi-handmade.
Semi-handmade.
Semi-handmade. Yeah.
Yeah, there was two companies, but they both essentially did the same thing. One did very, basic sprayed lacquer finishes that were matte and very beautiful, but the semi-handmade had
the plywood product,
gorgeous.
Which was
I'm gonna see if I can bring it up.
Fantastic, very highly textural, creates instant character into a home. I mean, you can clad every cabinet door in it, or you can create a striking island element with various textures. I think Rebecca's going to try and pull it up. It was so unbelievable, and it was from semi-handmade. They were using the plywood product and cladding the doors in it, but you could implement it. That one's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'll be able to see. Oops, no, scan again. Oh, there's one.
Yeah.
Can you guys see it?
Yes. Now that looks like linen.
Yes, but it was textural. It was 3D. I'm gonna bring up
that one. This is beautiful. This one right here.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Gorgeous.
Whoops.
Wow.
Yeah, can you guys see that?
Yes, we can see it perfectly. That's really beautiful.
So look at this though.
It was really super. It was so special. That's the whole island, I think, right there.
Oh, okay. Oh, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
That's what I see happening too. Lots of texture, sleek but with texture, simple and texture.
So beautiful. We just kept staring at and like touching it, and
it was a great product.
It was really
a great product.
really beautiful.
Now, was that wood or laminate? Was that wood or laminate?
It's wood.
It's wood.
It's it's bamboo. This company Plywood does all. They fabricate plywood and bamboo and plywood combination, and it's fantastic. It's all wood.
They're veneers that are made by Plywood. So Plywood supplies semi-handmade.
Yes, I know that. I know that company.
What I loved about it is that somebody that is on a budget, our kids, for instance, that are in their early 30s, they're buying their first home. They could have a really beautiful kitchen with the IKEA base, and so maybe they want to spend just a little bit more money. But this guy was saying that an average kitchen, if an average kitchen was $5,000 in an IKEA base model, do these doors would cost like an extra $3 or $4. Now that sounds like a lot because you're almost doubling the cost. But when you think that you could have this beautiful front for a few $1,000s more on these cabinets, I mean, I think that is outstanding that a young person on a tight budget could have a really exceptionally beautiful kitchen, even if they just did the island and did the rest of the kitchen in white or something very simple, and they really pulled the trigger on just a few pieces, an armoire unit, or the pantries, the island. I think it was outstanding.
It was
yeah,
amazing.
I think it is. I think it is too. Tell me, did you see cabinet finishes being lighter, mid-tone to lighter, or other than that?
Well, we didn't really see any cabinet lines.
There weren't a lot of cabinet lines.
There wasn't. Okay.
No, it wasn't very heavily focused on that at all.
No.
In fact, there was, as we said, there was this company and the other one that had the more contemporary face fronts for the IKEA line.
But now that you say that, Susan, actually in the Miele booth, because they introduced the truffle, they had a brown veneered wood display, which the brown was in. And I don't know if you went to the AD show.
Yes.
But they introduced it there, and they got the cabinetry all wrong.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Well, they corrected it. So the truffle in the right color cabinetry just looked stunning. So I mentioned to Lori that, I kind of think that introduction of the truffle brown is really speaking to the fact that men are getting much more involved in kitchens, and there's a whole different market there for maybe bachelors, men who are doing their kitchens over, maybe they're divorced, or the kitchen's about them, or they're very involved in the kitchen process in their own house. And so the truffle brown really kind of speaks to a more masculine influence in the kitchen. So I thought that was kind of interesting, because I don't know that women would necessarily pick out this truffle brown on their own.
I also think that it was integrating it a little bit more closely with a natural look in a natural environment. I think if you input some sort of beautiful wood cabinetry that creates it was a real natural feel and you could see it with greens and creams, and it was very beautiful, but I think it has a combination of that.
But you know what? Everyone wants warmth. Real modern, simple warmth. So that really fits the bill. I actually love that those appliances, that color.
The color of your cabinets, it was very simple to what they used in the Mila. Just beautiful wood. You see that beautiful wood grain, and I think there's definitely an introduction of more wood. I mean, I think we saw it at the K-Biz show with the rut that Scott Stoltz did. Whether it's some of your, and I'm using it more myself, more quarter sawn oaks with gray wash.
Love. Yep. So
not necessarily our deep dark cherry finishes of the late 80s and 90s, but more interesting, earthy, more natural, organic feeling wood.
Yes, I agree, but not as, maybe not as wild. I feel like that we don't have as many live edges, or there's not the preponderance of live woods in terms of the edging and so forth that we had a few years ago. I don't know if we still see them, but I feel like they were so much more prevalent in the design shows of a few years back. I don't know. What do you think, Brandon? What?
From what you mentioned about live edges, and I think there's we're coming out of a crap economy, and part of that is people are starting to have money again. But I think we're trying to show how do you put it, the money scenario without being ostentatious, and so I think there has to be a level of refinement that comes from that. We want to show, we want to spend money, but we're doing it in different ways now, as opposed to here's my grandiose. It comes down to finishes and details, and the truffle appliances, lack of raw edges, it's just very refined now. But for me, in terms of the natural finishes, I'm seeing a lot more of the, what would look like an oil rubbed, or, where there's no gloss to it, where it's just very...
Yes, I've seen that. I've seen everything is matte. Everything is matte.
The majority of the furniture pieces, the majority of anything that at the show had that oil rubbed appearance versus being gloss and over the top. So it's just really subdued, which I'm a huge fan of, because my house is very much like that. 100 years old. It's the varnish is gone now. So, but you're talking about cabinetry, and Susan, I know I flip flop all over. Shut up. I know you're a big advocate for the more freestanding kitchens with your Bornholm line, and I happened into the excellent Swiss design. I'm looking at the book now. Design Prize Switzerland section that was over near Thomas Mosier, and they had one piece that really stood out, because I was totally thinking, loft living, or but I'm gonna show the picture. Can you see it?
Oh boy, your video just cut out just at the worst time. Let me. Oh,
am I back?
Yeah, there you are. Okay, hurry and show.
Okay. Here you go. See, I know you like the.
Yes.
So this center section actually raises and lowers. So I thought that was, it was really cool, because we're always looking for different ways to kind of stand out. from that, from the standard kitchen, and it's fun pieces like those, especially if you live in a small space and you see the kitchen from, the living room, the bedroom, the bathroom, and
there you go. And that's, of course, the overriding trend that's happening too, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. We just have a few minutes left, so first I want to go back to Rebecca and Lori and tell me, so what's happening with the what's your news and the Kitchen Design Network, and tell us a little bit about that. You kind of give a crash course on kitchen design to design professionals, right?
Well, yeah, it's a day-long workshop that we're taking around the country, as you know, to various Mila centers around the states, and we're really gearing it towards decorators and designers who don't typically do these kinds of projects and really want to be able to learn the business, navigate the process, really help their clients and be there for them so that they can take on this next stage of their business and grow as well. So we are launching, our tour begins September 17th. We're going to be in Princeton, New Jersey, and then on to Boston, to Wellesley on the 19th of September. And then October we have, and you can go to our website too, thekitchendesignnetwork.com or kitchendesignnetwork.com. October we will be in Dallas and Houston and High Point. And in November,
Seattle and San Francisco.
Wow, that is so exciting.
It's
yeah. But Susan, one of the things that I think we want to kind of make very clear is that it's not as design focused as people may think. We're trying to get that out very clearly. Obviously, we all, as kitchen designers, it's taken us years and years to learn what we know. And so we know, and the designers know, that there's no way they're going to learn to design kitchens in a day. That's just not going to happen. What we're really focusing on more is the design process of being able to help a client manage their kitchen project. These designers may still end up turning to someone like you and I for the expert, real nuts and bolts that some of the designers really would like to learn, and most of them say, no, that's just like way too detailed for me. But they want to be able to handle the job. And I've been doing quite a few projects with designers just like that we work collaboratively together. And they just have learned a lot from me just in terms of being involved in the process. So
the thing is the kitchen design industry, we have our own culture.
Yes.
So there's a language that we speak with tradespeople. There are different kinds of relationships we have with different suppliers, but it's mainly about those types of things, the relationships and the language and the orchestration of the project, things like that. So you're kind of giving them an overview and an acquaintance with the culture.
Yes,
it seems.
That's exactly the right way to put it, and so that they feel confident taking on the job and not turning it away, and then they will have at least more knowledge to work with someone like myself or someone like yourself and really be able to work that project much more confidently and with much more knowledge about the process and how things should go. What comes first? What comes second? What should be happening, after the install? Should the floors get done beforehand or afterwards?
That's right.
They know that. It's not that they're going to be taking on full kitchen projects, but they're going to be much more knowledgeable about being able to say yes to their clients and then, working with a designer to do the nuts and bolts so that, no one's making a lot of mistakes.
And do they have access to you both after to ask you questions and follow up?
Yes.
We have a whole day planned, the Mila Center. We have lunch, we have open conversation, and then at the end of the day we celebrate with a little sparkly, bubbly, and fire away the questions. So
I'd love to attend. I'd love to attend Princeton.
Well, but to your question, Susan, after the workshop, yes, for a certain period of time, or if they take on a project and they want to call us for some advice, absolutely. Certainly we won't be handling the projects for free, but if they need, if they pay to go to the workshop, it will come with a certain amount of, consultation afterwards that as backup support.
That backup support, love it. That's a great way to say it. Hey, Brandon, so tell us what's on your horizon next. When is the next issue of the 26 coming out?
The next issue, I'm like deep in the thick of it, comes out at the end of July. Literally, I think it's going to be the last day of July because we've got so much going on. Green Acres is our theme. We're doing a photo shoot on a farm. I just secured my photographer yesterday. I'm so excited. So that's kind of our next one. And then the next big event is we have our 1-year anniversary coming up of Design Blocks here in August. I can't believe it's already been a year.
I can't either.
And we're still kind of planning what we're going to be doing, but I know that we will be in San Francisco again sometime around the 15th of August, and we'll be throwing a little bash. We'll be at Pebble Beach, the events at Pebble Beach and the car shows. So those are kind of my 2 big ones right now in terms of the magazine and then our 1 year. So yeah, I don't think much. You see the dark spots,
Well, lots of luck to you both, and look for Rebecca and Lori on social channels, and Brandon Smith, Rebecca Reynolds, Lori Gilder. Just type it in and you'll find all kinds of information. And so that closes out our show for today. I want to thank you so much, and please go to the comment stream, and if anyone else has questions of the audience, we'll take them. So thank you guys so very much.
Thank you, Susan.
Talk to you soon.